to the Ask Ken show for, what is it, May 25th,
That's
the
right.
second Ask Ken show. I hope everybody had a great month. I'm going to kind of give you a quick overlay how the Ask Ken show works. You can ask Ken anything. Ken's
Yeah.
here. He's just in the little picture box there. I'll pop him up when we're ready. And I will be kind of covering the chat. And when I see a question, I will get Ken to answer it, and you can ask him anything. This isn't a reading. These aren't like little mini readings. So we're not going to be asking your spirit guides questions. It's kind of anything spiritual. So without further ado, let's bring up Ken. We'll just do that. Nope, that's not it. We'll do that. There we go, Ken.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for the wonderful introduction. My name is Ken Lewicki of channelinginc.com, and I do anything and everything to do with spirituality. That's what I teach. That's what I do for a living. I just love being able to help people, prosper and thrive in the spiritual area of their life, and of course that bleeds over into all the areas of their life, which is great. So definitely check out my website, channelinginc.com, and we're going to have a blast this evening. So the way that it works, please, if you're listening to this right now, just leave a comment, and then Kevin's going to look at the comments and he's going to ask questions. So, and then I'll answer those questions. And as you're leaving more comments or questions, then I'll be answering more and more. So first of all, everyone who's watching, just please say hi, say hello, tell us where you're from. We love to hear all the people that are tuning in and where you're from, and at least start with that, and then we could kind of go from there. But yeah, what questions you want to know about spirituality, what questions you want to know about me, what questions you want to know about life in general, or the world, or cool things like that, or just whatever is kind of coming to you, just feel free to ask. But first of all, go ahead and say hello. So hello, everyone.
So we have Stacy Jamison from Edmonton up in Alberta. I won't boo because we're down close to Calgary. In Calgary, Edmonton, if people aren't from this beautiful province, they don't understand the Battle of Alberta. So I won't boo you, Stacy, but tomorrow I might boo you.
I love all citizens of this planet Earth. That is the
Ken does. Ken loves everybody. Kevin, not so much during hockey season.
This is the politically correct thing to say. And I do. I really do. I love people from all parts of the world. I have people international that attend my workshops. So we welcome anyone from any country, city, town, in any part of the world.
And speaking of international, we have Deb Matthias from Minnesota.
Hey, Deb. Welcome. What questions do you have? Please ask the questions in the comments. So
yes, ask the questions. I will be monitoring everywhere to find questions if you have them. We missed a couple, or one I know from last week. So I'm going to start off right away, Ken, if you don't mind, with a question. It came actually from my son, from JQ's. And he asked, he had a friend that committed or died by suicide. Sorry, we have to correct our verbiage on that. They died by suicide, and he was wondering if all souls that die by suicide, do they still go back to the astral realm?
Right. So there's three realms. The three realms that there's the astral realm, which is where you go when you die and you cross over, you go to the astral realm. There's the animal spirit realm, which is where the animal souls go when they die and they cross over. And then there's what's called the in-between realm, and that's where some people refer to it as purgatory. I don't refer to it as that. I just refer to it as the in-between realm, and those are where lost souls go. And why a lost soul becomes a lost soul, there's a various variety of reasons. It's actually very rare. So most commonly, I tell my students this is that and we learn about this in level 2 in great detail, my channeling level 2 workshop, where basically when somebody dies, let's say somebody dies, in their sleep, most of those people will cross over to the astral realm and be fine and everything's fine. Some of them, a very tiny amount, might become a lost soul. Someone might get into if there's 1,000 people that get into a car accident, pretty much all of them will go and cross over to the astral realm to be with their soul family. Maybe one or maybe even less than that might become a lost soul and be in that in between realm, and on and on and on and on. Every possible way, someone falls off a cliff. Most of the time, they're going to go and go to the astral realm, things like that. So same thing with suicide. Most people that commit suicide, there's no right or wrong about it. There's no good or bad. According to the people, your soul family and the souls who reside in the astral realm, most of them are going to cross over to be in the astral realm, and there might be a very small percentage that don't cross over and are in the in between realm. And you could, I teach people how to channel, and I teach people how to do mediumship. I teach people how to connect with souls on the other side. And you can ask and ask and ask if whether it's the soul who actually took their life by suicide, or one of their family members who's in the astral realm, and they don't see it as right or wrong or good or bad, or like all this like hang-ups that we humans on earth, a lot of us have, not all of us do, but some of us do. And some cultures, they don't see it that way. However, a lot do. But looking at it from a soul perspective and the astral realm kind of perspective, they don't see it as a right or wrong, a good or bad thing.
Awesome answer, Ken. You talked about the astral realm. Can you go into more detail on how can I phrase this correctly? What happens in the astral realm? What do we do once we get to the astral realm?
So many things. Okay, so let's back up a bit. So
Yeah.
when you're in the astral realm, before you incarnate, you choose where you're going to incarnate and all who's going to be your family, all that stuff, what part of the planet, what culture, what ethnicity, all that fun stuff, right? And then
Yeah.
so you go you're born through your mother, whatever mother you choose. So the mom and dad have sex, the the sperm and pregnancy,
Can
egg,
you
all that
say
fun
that
stuff.
live? Are you allowed to?
I don't know, but I just did. I know.
Okay.
The S word, right? Like, are we allowed to talk about that? Yeah, let's talk about it. All of us, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our parents having sex. Let's say it that way. That's just, I know, right? Horrible thing to say. Um, I just, and then, so what happens though is when the soul will come in and then into the baby, the embryo, basically, and then the mother will, through gestation period, bear the child, and then the child will live their incarnated life, however long. It could be a few years, it could be several decades. 50s, 60s, 90s. Some people live over 100 years nowadays. And then which is actually just a blip in time. Even 100 years is just really a small blip in time. And then when we die and we cross over, then we go back to the astral realm to be with our soul family and the rest of the souls that reside in the astral realm. So, what is the reason I talked about that is because the reason I'm saying this is because the amount of time that we spend incarnated in relative terms, it's actually very small compared to how often and how much time we actually spend in the astral realm. So, when we're in the astral realm, um, we actually do a whole bunch of things. So there's training that goes on there. People take maybe music lessons or writing or literature, sciences, all sorts of any kind of education you could imagine. Plus, they also do things like souls will do things like just fellowshipping and hanging out, playing cards, or playing sports, or just things recreational kind of stuff. Some souls will maybe for a while just hang out and do nothing by kind of like they'll just kind of hang out in the area and do nothing. But a lot of it's like fellowshipping, and then there's other things that go on, like you might be working with so souls actually, including your spirit guides, actually have mentors. And not all the time, but oftentimes they're more like there's no real hierarchy when it comes to souls. There are, however, ones that might be a bit more evolved, like ascended masters and things like that. So very rarely do ascended masters actually incarnate on Earth, because oftentimes they're busy working with the souls who help people like us, like our spirit guides. So they actually mentor souls in the astral realm. So rarely do they ever incarnate. So think of like you, when you die and you cross over to the astral realm, you might get mentoring by some of the souls there that are kind of there to kind of help and teach you how to. So some people have this kind of weird idea that they think that when we cross over, we just do nothing. We're just like kind of like essence or presence or whatever. And we're not. We're a soul. We're still learning, growing, and evolving, just like your spirit guides are. and then we incarnate, and then we learn and grow and evolve even more. And you cannot not evolve. Like everybody's, all souls are always evolving. Even if you just spend kind of waste your life away, as people say, even that's not really wasting it. You're just still evolving.
Just like
And
us, we can't not grow old.
yeah, and we
We're always
cannot not
aging.
evolve. It's like we're constantly evolving, even if some people think, it's right or wrong, good or bad. Like, let's say somebody spends this whole life in crime and drugs and all that stuff. It doesn't mean that they're not evolving. They are. It's
Yeah.
impossible not to evolve. So that's what happens is we're constantly evolving, and that's what we're doing in the astral realm too. So when we go there, we're spending time with friends, family, soul family, things like that. We're playing, doing recreational things. We're educating. We're just all sorts of cool things happen in the astral realm, and it is
That's
like a real
awesome.
environment. People are creating and building things. Like it's actually really neat.
I think that's the important thing that people have to understand, and that's that one sentence you said at the end. It's a real environment.
Yeah, yeah. And what's even cooler about it is at the very beginning of my channeling level 2 workshop, I actually take people to the astral realm with their spirit guide. I have their spirit guide give them a tour, and you'll actually get to experience this firsthand. And so instead of me just telling someone this is what it is, I actually in my workshops, that's what I how I teach differently than a lot of teachers out there. Is I actually teach what's called experiential teaching. So I'll actually have you experience a lot of the stuff we'll be talking about on the Ask Ken show. So please ask your questions. If you're just tuning in, just type in, okay, I have this question, type it in. And then Kevin can go ahead and ask me some of these questions. So
And we have a couple.
welcome,
We
everyone.
have a couple. So Stacy Jamison from Edmonton, she says, I just found you on Facebook, not new to knowing about awakening and spirituality, yet very curious about channeling. I'm getting a bit better at my connection, just not as strong as I would like it yet. Yet, is there something unique to be done to channel specific intended energies?
Yes. And yes and no. So I have some basic foundational kind of stuff that I do with my students in level 1, because that kind of gives them the foundation for the future levels. And one of the things, and everyone's welcome to do this along with me. So what I recommend is a technique that I call, or that I created. It's called ground center channel using source energy. So I ask my students to ground really strong, because the stronger you're grounded, the higher you can fly. I ask them to center themselves. And what I mean by this is bring all your energy from the past to the present, bring all your energy from the future to the present. So you're fully present, you're fully centered, and then channel using source energy, and just to let that source energy flow through your crown and then through the rest of your aspects. So let's all take a nice deep breath. 3, 2, 1. Ground, center, channel using source energy. And then what this does is it allows my students to get into a conducive state. From this point, you don't have to do this to channel, but at the beginning, when you're first learning how to do this, like, I don't know if you can feel the difference, but like, if you've done this, if you didn't do it, go ahead, try it right now. Just take a deep breath, ground center channel using source energy. And what this does, it allows you to get into a more conducive state to channeling your spirit guides, your loved ones, other people's loved ones, your soul, your higher self, angels, sprites, fairies, dragons, all those things I teach my students how to do. So that's kind of like the foundational thing, if this makes sense.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
We have Lisa Lambu. She's I'm wondering why certain souls choose a hard journey. We always hear it's to learn from but my goodness, I'm so done learning already. LOL.
So Lisa, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Lisa,
That is
just
correct.
let us know where you're from. I just want to say hi, shout out to you. So welcome. Um, there's a lot of misunderstanding in the spiritual world where we think we're here to learn lessons. I personally try not to use that word. The reason why is because a lot of people have a lot of negative connotations around the word lessons. I don't know how it was for you growing up, but like my mom would be like, I'm going to teach you a lesson, right? Right? So
And you knew that wooden spoon was coming out.
Yeah, we did that back in the day. Wooden spoon, the
Oh
strap by the
yeah.
principal, and all that fun stuff. Yeah, I mean, times have changed, and they have changed for the better in a lot of
Yes.
cases. So, I try to, first of all, I try to avoid the word lessons because we're not really here to learn lessons. We're more here to um, learn, grow, and evolve and change. And so, oftentimes, what people are referring to when they're talking about like learning lessons is there's something called Akashic Records, and our Akashic Records is like an etheric book. And in that book is written every single feeling, emotion, experience, situation, circumstance we've ever experienced in our lifetime. But it's not just from this lifetime, it's from all lifetimes. So this is called your Akashic Records. Sometimes, though, there's things in our Akashic records that are called contracts, deals, and agreements. So, and those are three different things. So I'm not going to get into it now, but they are three different things. But sometimes those contracts, deals, and agreements that are written into your Akashic records can affect us in our lifetime now. So there's a couple ways that we can work and maneuver through these Akashic records. One is to actually go through it kind of like the hard way of figuring it out and going through the trenches of it, and that is a way to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that's what people often do, like, I'm learning my lesson. And then there's that saying out there that if you don't learn it, that you're going to keep repeating it and repeating it. There can be some truth to that. And then there's also another way to move through this stuff is actually what's called Akashic record healing and clearing, and then also rewriting. So they're actually different things. Healing your Akashic records, clearing contracts, deals, and agreements, and then rewriting as necessary. And they do make a real world example, or a real world effect. I mean, a real world effect on what's going on in your life, so that you don't have to go through the trenches quite as much. And Lisa, I hate to burst your bubble. However, we're all going to, every one of us that I've noticed, anyways, is always going to go through learning and growing and these difficult times because that's life. And so, what's really cool is, and I've channeled this, and you could channel it, I'm even channeling it right now, is there's actually a huge lineup of souls wanting to incarnate on this planet. And the reason why is because when a soul is in spirit form, they don't have the extremes where they can evolve as much. So there's souls wanting to incarnate by the masses. They're waiting in the wings, they're wanting to, so that, because what happens is when we incarnate, we get the extremes of love and fear and fight and flight and anger and sadness and despair, and every range of emotions, joy, happiness, laughter, everything from one extreme to the other, and not just this way, but also this way and this way, you name it. And so we can only get this when we're in a 3D form, because that's when all our aspects are with us. And what I used to do when I first started, like, I had my awakening in the early 2000s, was I really hated going through this stuff and the struggles and the lessons, as you called it. And I really hated it. But then, after about 12 to 15 years, I started saying, you know what? What if every time something like this happens, I can use it as an opportunity, and I can actually look at it as a good thing, as a positive thing? Like, how can I grow out of this? How can I evolve? How can I take this as a learning, positive, like, learning experience? And this is what's going on with me in my life right now, is showing me where my healing and clearing my work is surfacing for me to work on. And I try to look at it as a positive. Does it always work? No. Sometimes they just suck. And I can use an F word in there, but I'm not going to. But you know what I mean? Like, it
Thanks.
just sucks, right? It does. Some things really do suck. But I try my best in every one of those situations to flip it around to, where's the opportunity in this? Where's the positive that can come out of this?
Yeah, and sometimes we have to look really, really hard to find that positive. I know I've gone through all kinds of stuff,
And,
and
and,
it's
and
like,
have the humility.
yes, yes.
Maybe it's not outside of me. Maybe this is something I can use as an
Great
opportunity
question,
to learn
Lisa.
from.
Thank you so much. That was an awesome
I
question.
love it. Yeah.
Shelley Somerville Walzer
Oh,
from, and I believe she's from Lethbridge, if my memory serves me correct. It's either Lethbridge or Medicine Hat, and she's going to give me a hard time, but I think
yes.
it's Lethbridge.
And Lisa is from Airdrie. So what's
So, Shelley's question: had a reading a few years ago, and my dad came through. He told me to read a lot about crossing over because he was very confused on what to do once he once he passed from this lifetime. Can you explain why he would be confused?
There's a lot of stigmas around death and dying in this culture. It's not actually common in a lot of cultures, Eastern cultures and other cultures around the world. They know about it, they celebrate it. Death isn't death; it's a transition from physical to non-physical, and a lot of cultures do celebrations of life. And yeah, I do. I think one of the biggest. I do recommend what your dad suggests is read about it, learn about it, take classes on it. I tell my students that if you only get one thing out of the three of the workshops, channeling level 1, 2, or 3, that you get, if there's only one big thing you get out of it, it's that you see death differently. That it's actually not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. It's a normal part of like living, because you don't die, you transition. And if a person who's living right now can work through that fear that the Western kind of society has imposed on people, I don't know why or how it came about, but it's really just not necessary, and it's not accurate at all. Like, if you ask any soul who's crossed over, like a loved one, and you ask them, how do you see death? How do you see how do you see it? They'll be like, oh, no, it's fine. It's great. I don't know what
Yeah.
your problem is. I think it's fine. And they do. And Kevin's done enough readings now to know that, like, on loved ones, and I do them, of course, too, that, yeah, we can confirm this over and over. And I teach my students how to actually channel those on the other side and ask these questions about death and what their loved ones want to tell them while they're alive about the process of death and the transitioning. And it's just a natural, normal part of
And
experience of
and
living.
Shelley, your dad's not alone. There's lots and lots of souls that I connect with, loved ones of clients where I'm doing a reading where when they crossed over, got to the in between, they were confused. It wasn't what they were taught here in this lifetime, especially through religion. Sometimes we get taught things. So your dad definitely wasn't alone in being confused once they crossed over. So Ken nailed it. You do need to learn a lot when we're here.
Yeah. And then the
I
more you can learn now while you're incarnated, the easier and smoother the transition will be.
Yes.
It's just so natural and so wonderful and so beautiful for the evolution of the soul as well. It really is.
Judy Unsworth from right here in beautiful Airdrie, Alberta, has a question. I heard that there is so much experience to learn that one lifetime can't complete it. It takes several, tons of lifetimes to grow and learn. The only soul that never incarnated that of Jesus. So is that correct? Is Jesus the only soul that didn't incarnate?
Yeah, so to answer her first question, most souls right now that are incarnated on Earth have incarnated hundreds, if not thousands of times. Uh, so just to clarify this, there's what's called old souls and new souls. However, there's no real such thing as an old soul or new soul. All souls were created at the same time. And it's just what people are referring to when they when they refer to someone as an old soul is someone who's incarnated many times on this planet. And usually, they would consider an old soul someone who's incarnated like 1,000 times or 10,000 times or whatever it might be. Stuff like that would be considered an old soul. However, a new soul is a soul who's incarnated maybe a dozen times, half a dozen times, something like that on this planet. However, they could have incarnated thousands, if not tens of thousands of times on another planet. And so if we've incarnated a lot on this planet but not a lot on another planet, then if we incarnate next lifetime incarnate on that planet, we would be considered a new soul to that planet because we've only incarnated once, maybe a few times, whereas some of those souls may have incarnated thousands or tens of thousands of times on that other planet, and to us, we would be considered a new soul on that planet. And so I don't really get all caught up in this old soul and new soul whole thing. And yeah, we can incarnate hundreds of times, thousands of times, even tens of thousands of times or more. And guess what? We'll probably incarnate again and many, many times. And it's all part of the soul's evolution. And there are some souls in the astral realm. Some of them have only incarnated a few times. Some of them may have only incarnated once, and some of them may have been never incarnated. and that's actually accurate. That is accurate. Not
Yeah.
all souls have incarnated.
Yeah. Okay. That's excellent. Laura Lambros Thiessen. I'm not sure where she's from. So, Laura, if you can just kind of comment where you're from, I'll give you your city a shout out. Do you agree that all Earth people are connected to you on the other side? All your Earth people, so people you've come in contact with Earth. Do you believe that you're connected to them on the other side?
So there's two ways that we connect with souls, with people, whether they're incarnated or non-incarnated. It's irrelevant. The two ways that we connect with souls is one is through what's called energetic tethers. So people call them cords, but
Yeah,
energetic tethers. When I channeled, I asked, is there something more accurate than cords? And I got tethers. So think of like a space station, and the astronaut, when they do a spacewalk, they have like a tether
that's
that
a
keeps them from
great way to
floating
explain
away
it.
into space, right? Because it's tethered. They're tethered to the space station. So we have the analogy that I use is think of it like a hose. So in that tether there's an exchange of energy that goes between your soul and another soul. And sometimes what can happen is over it could get contaminated, and then the energy flowing between it can get all gunked up and all that. So I remember the first time that I checked on the connection, the energetic tether that I have with my mother the very first time. It was like the grossest thing like ever. It was like, oh, right. And so I worked on like clearing the tethers, and actually, but you will reestablish a new one, but at least it's like a fresh start. So it's kind of like making your bed. After a while it gets pretty gross and gunky and all that. So it's good to just start off on a clean, fresh start. So that's energetic tethers. And the other way that we connect with souls is through what's called psychic links. And psychic links is the other way. So when we incarnate on this planet, there oftentimes we'll come across other souls that we've bumped into in other previous lifetimes. However, sometimes we will come across somebody we've never bumped into, and what happens is as soon as we do that, we will create an energetic tether and a psychic link with them. And then when we cross over and they cross over, whether it's the same time or different times, doesn't matter. We still have those connections with them, and not good or bad, right or wrong. It just is what it is. And then when we incarnate in another lifetime, they might incarnate in another lifetime, and we still have those kind of connections, and they can be strengthened or the other way around and stuff like that. So yeah, there's some
And
truth
that
to that.
doesn't necessarily mean that that person that you just bumped into and you connected psychically and by the tethers, they don't have to be in your spirit family on the other side.
That's right, right. So a really good point, Kevin, is that there's a difference between our what's called our earth family and then our soul family. And I make it very clear to people that the people that you were born with, like your family, aren't necessarily members of your soul family. So they can be, but they might not be. To give you an example, let's say there's four of you in the family. You might have all three that are part of your soul family and your earth family, or you might have where none of them are members of your soul family, but they're members of your earth family, but not your soul family. Or you might have one or two or any other combination of that where they're a member of your soul family. So in my case, my dad was a member of my soul family. My mom, and so it's like it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's different, and I want you to know that it's different. Also, members of your soul family can be anybody. It could be a teacher. It could be somebody like an old school elementary friend that you had in elementary school. It could be a coach, or it could be just somebody that you used to hang out with years ago, or it could be somebody that you just bumped into recently and you have that amazing connection and you've never met them before, but it feels like you've known them forever. That's how you know the signs of a soul family member. And they're all over the world. You have soul family members scattered everywhere, in every age, every demographics, every culture, you name it. Yeah, they're
And
everywhere.
everybody's had that where they've just met somebody through a friend
Yeah,
on internet, Facebook. This teacher comes into my life and teaches me something, and you
or
just connect with them on a different level than you can explain. 99.9% of the time, they're going to be part of your soul family. Is that correct?
yeah, I would say a
Yeah.
good portion of the time. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some people you just have a really cool connection with.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. like people, it feels like you've known them forever. It's like, I feel like I've known you forever. And if they truly are members of your soul family, then you literally have known them for eons.
Forever.
Yeah.
Okay, she asks a second question. So, and I wasn't going to ask it, but I'm going to ask it because we kind of got into it there a little bit. This is Laura Thiessen asks. She asks about soulmates. What's your opinion on soulmates?
Yeah. So there's what's called twin flames, soulmates, and kindred souls. So a kindred soul is someone where you have like a super amazing connection with. There's a good possibility that they are members of your soul family. It doesn't necessarily mean you're meant to be intimate with them and
Yes.
necessarily meant to have sex with them, even if they are somebody that you're sexually attracted to. That's where you have to kind of discern the difference, and it does take a lot of practice on that. And soulmates is somebody that they have the potential to be somebody that you could be intimate with, have like a good, intimate, amazing relationship with. Maybe date them, maybe marry them, whatever, some like along those lines. And I say the word potential is because everyone has free will. So, they might be in a different place in their life and not really in the, whatever, or you might be in a different place in your life, or even if you two do get together and start, dating and courting and all that, that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work out for sure because, you both still have free will. You still have your own, both still have your own stuff that you're working through. So it's still like any relationship, it takes a lot of work. And this is something I teach my students in channeling level 1, the differences between the differences between them, so that like my experience has been that trying to date kindred souls has been really difficult because I wasn't necessarily meant to be intimate with them, and I tried to force it to. And then eventually I channeled my dad and I asked him, "Hey dad, what's the difference between a kindred soul and a soulmate?" And then that's when he explained the difference. And then one thing I want to be very clear about is you don't have just one soulmate.
Thank you.
So what the whole twin flame theory, I've channeled this many, many of times, and I'm not getting that it's true. Is that what they think is that half of your soul resides in somebody else, and then half the other half resides in you, and then when you come together, you and this other person come together, then your soul is complete. And it's like, half of a flame on one side of the world and half a flame somewhere else, and then when you come together to make one flame. That's why it's called twin flame. That's just simply not true. So each one of us, hear me when I say this, each one of us has our own soul, yet we're all connected. So it is both. We are all connected to some extent, but yet we have our own individual souls. And so when we have our own whole soul, and then when we meet someone else, they have their own whole soul. And then that's when we come together, and hopefully we both come together as two whole people where we can come together and complement each other instead of creating a codependency kind of relationship. And there's a lot more to it than this. So the biggest thing I want people to know, and the takeaway from this question, is you have a lot of potential soulmates out there, and they're scattered all over the world. So don't think there's just one. This really messed me up really bad, where I was taught there's only one. So then I tried to force that relationship to work, and when it didn't, I thought I'd be single the rest of my life and doomed to being, alone because I screwed up that one soulmate connection. And
So
it's not.
there's lots and lots of Mr. Rights and Mrs. Rights out there for everybody.
Yeah, and Mr. Clean.
Mr. Clean. You're hilarious. So Andrea Waldriff Ellard, she asked a question. She was asking a question quite specific to her. I'm going to rephrase her question to ask it so you can generalize it.
Perfect. Okay.
Can a soul from the other side send us a sign? Her mother-in-law passed away over 14 years ago, and she's wondering, is there a way for them to send us signs?
All the time, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
signs can come in many forms. It could be through like dimes or feathers or flickering of lights or music, media, all sorts of forms. You can feel their presence oftentimes. There's lots of ways that these loved ones and souls or even your spirit guides will try to get our attention. And it's actually really cool. Like there's so many ways. There's ringing in the ears sometimes. That's not doesn't mean every time it rings your ears ring it's your loved one, but it could be.
Could
But
be.
there's ways. I teach my students how to discern, between it. numbers, patterns, you name it. Like I could just go on and on. The list is actually really long, and I do an exercise around this. So there's lots of ways. Oftentimes, the way that your loved one will try to get through to somebody who's incarnated is actually through another human.
Quite often.
And so we all channel. We've all channeled. We've channeled, even if people don't know they're channeling. It's like, have you ever given somebody a message and they're like looking at you all like, how did you know that? Or that's something my mother would say, or something like that. It's because people inadvertently channel without realizing it. And what I
Yes.
teach my students to do is how to actually channel intentionally by taking the training, taking the workshops, so they know, oh, that's what's going on. Oh, that's how I figure it out. And then once they know what's going on, the discernment of it and the awareness of it, then I teach them how to enhance those abilities way beyond anything they could imagine, so they could really take it further in their life. And the spirituality is a cool thing. Now let's rock it and do awesome things with it.
Well, it's funny because I told you this before, Ken. I went to a psychic fair a couple of weeks back with Ellison, and we had an amazing reading by this lady. She was doing, I think they're tarot cards, and accurate, like deadly accurate. And I mentioned to her after something about channeling, and she looked me dead in the eye and she said, "I don't channel." And I almost laughed because I was like, "You have to channel. There's no way you're getting the information you were
Yeah.
getting without channeling."
Yeah. And that's a good point. A lot of people don't know that that's what they're doing. And we all do it. Every single 7 billion of us, we all channel. We just don't know that. A lot of us don't know it. And so once you know it, you're like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Oh, well, how do I do this on purpose? Oh, I will teach you that. Like,
So they can send signs, butterflies, dragonflies, dimes.
yeah,
Somebody else
exactly.
said people find dimes. Uh, yeah, they find dimes. So a soul can, they're not going to create a dime and put it there for you. Because if they did, I'm going to ask my mom to start leaving $100 bills rather than dimes.
Good idea. Let me know how that works out. Stop being so cheap. Send me some $100 bills, right?
Exactly. What are these dime things, Ma?
Yeah, they'll figure out ways to bring it to your awareness and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
just to get your attention.
All of a sudden, billboards or insects, yeah,
Big billboards. Kevin, pay attention.
through animals, yeah. There's lots of
Yeah,
ways. It's really
awesome.
cool.
Um, Laura Thiessen asked another question. It's a good one. Because we talked about how we go through life and there's challenges. Is there a big plan? Like, do we set a plan out for ourselves before we incarnate, or is there's just a great deal of chance when we get here?
Really good question. It's a little bit of both. It really is. That's the honest truth. A lot of
Yes.
people in spirituality, they want to think it's like always like this or never like that. And I'm always really careful about using absolute words, they're called. Like it's, the always and nevers and, every time and all that stuff. I do use it, but it's very rare, and only I'll say something like, I could confidently say your spirit guides will always, always have your highest and greatest good in mind. That I could say with confidence over the thousands of people I've trained over the years. That is true. So um, the when we before we incarnate, so this is a little bit advanced, is when we're in the astral realm I talked about earlier in spirit form. What happens is we work with our guides in the astral realm. So we have guides in the astral realm as well. They're kind of like mentors. And before we incarnate, we actually have kind of a rough idea of some of the um, people we want to incarnate with, some of the goals and the achievements and the tasks and the kind of the
The
uh,
lessons.
yeah, I was trying to avoid that word. I was looking
I
for
can
something.
tell you were.
The evolution opportunities.
Yeah.
How's that? Yeah,
Oh, oh,
evolutionary
oh,
opportunities.
I'm going to write that one down.
That's a good one. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
channeled. They're like, that's a good one to say. So, my two of my guides actually told me that one. Evolutionary opportunities, because then what happens though is when we incarnate, we have this magical, amazing, beautiful thing called free will. So a lot of people think free will is a bad thing. It's not. It's actually a wonderful, beautiful thing. So you can decide as you're going through and navigating your life um, to try to achieve these contracts, deals, agreements that you made before you incarnated, and try to maximize this lifetime, maximize the evolution of this lifetime, your soul's evolution. So that's what I'm trying to do in my lifetime. And this is what I really encourage my students to do. Am I perfect at it? No. Do I make mistakes? Yes. Because again, we have free will, and we're not, and life is constantly like an ebb and flow of changes. So I ask my viewers, have you ever had a time in your life when you know you totally like just were totally off track, off path? You were like doing things that were like definitely not in your life was going downhill, and you were just keep making poor decision after poor decision after poor decision, and you ended up in a place where you never thought you could be. However, you've made different, maybe different changes in your life, and now look at where you're at now. And then what I try to do is when I notice that I'm kind of off path, then I try to make, okay, what's the next right step? How can I get back on path? And this is what we have, timelines, it's called. So we try to get into a timeline that is in our optimal and greatest good, and then try to stay in that timeline. And if we don't, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be hard on yourself, but ask yourself, okay, what can I do to get back on path and make things right if you can, and things like that. And have grace with yourself, and also to remember that there's others that are involved sometimes in these situations where they have free wills as well. So that can affect your life path. We've all had incidences where people external of us have made decisions that have affected us. But again, just try to get back on path and make next healthy decisions.
That's awesome. Awesome. I'm not sure if you answered this question earlier when we were talking about people who die by suicide. But why do souls stay in the in between, or why do souls get stuck? I think is a better word, in the in between. Is it guilt?
Yeah.
Is it
So
preconceived?
the honest truth is, I have not 100% figured out what makes a soul become a lost soul, and what how, has them have ones that cross over fully. If anyone figures this out 100% and they know for sure, please let me know, and I will channel it. I will check. I haven't really found a rhyme or reason as to. Like I said, it's a very, very, very small percentage of souls. Like
Oh,
there's 7 billion people on this planet alone, and almost all of them, when they die, will cross over to the astral realm, and very, very, very small will become a lost soul. So I don't get too caught up in the why. I haven't really 100% been able to figure it out. All I know is if I come across a lost soul, I cross them over. I send them to the astral realm to be with their soul family, where they can get the healing that they need. And what happens is, when they do cross over, they go into like a containment area for a while they get the healing of what they need before they're released to the general public in the astral realm. And I look at any lost soul like with love and compassion. They're not good or bad or right or wrong. And these are the ones that you see on like these ghost hunting kind of shows that are doing these things, and they're like, oh, it's an evil spirit. Well, they're not evil. They're just unhealthy because they're stuck in the in between realm, and the longer that they're stuck in there, the more senile they can get. So I don't see them as evil or good or bad or anything like that. Just that they need the love and compassion and support, and that's why I cross them over, and that's what I teach my students how to do in my workshops. How to do that in my future ones, my more advanced workshops.
that's awesome. Somebody asked, and I couldn't find where the question was, but somebody asked, and you kind of touched on it there. Um, why are some souls more mischievous than others? Is it just lost souls that are mischievous? And I think that's a good word to use rather than
Yeah.
evil or etc.
let, let me clarify the word mischievous. So, or a couple things. So, first of all, when we're talking about souls, so there's, if we're talking about just lost souls, there's lost souls that are benign and just like literally lost. They're like, I had this one lost soul, for example, this child, where this lady went to, she went to Europe, and she was at a castle just visiting a you know tour, like going on a tour of a castle, and then this boy like was like, oh, that must be my mummy, and latched onto her. And then she came back to this country, and then a few weeks went by, and she was constantly drained and tired. And I tuned in. I'm like, oh, that's because that boy has or that lady has a lost soul, this boy, who thought that was her mother. So I just crossed the lost boy over, and he didn't even know he was lost. He just thought that was my mother. And then ever since then, she's been fine. because that soul was draining her energy. So that's common, where a lost soul doesn't even know it. And then there's the ones on the other extreme where they are basically a lot more mischievous and cause problems and stuff like that. So the other thing too is even souls in the astral realm, like in the ideal world, they would all be perfect, and that they're not. They're evolving, and they still have their personalities and characteristics about it. So you might have some souls that are like kind of goofy and silly and all that, and like to have fun with people and all that kind of stuff. And like my dad was like that when he was my spirit guide, because that's his quirkiness kind of, but it wasn't out of malintent, anything like that. So in some sense, he had that mischievous personality about him, but in a fun way and all that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I mean, my
so
my
souls
mom
have
loves
different.
to do that to me constantly. So,
Yeah,
right, it's her way of letting her know I'm around. She's around.
it's a good question.
We have some really cool questions. If you're just tuning in, we still have about 15 minutes or so. Get your question in. I'll try to get to them. We have a lot of questions, and I will try to get to them. If I don't, I'm going to make a note of them. And of course, we are having another Ask Ken show next month. Ken, do you know the date of that off the top of your head?
It's always the fourth Wednesday of the month,
The
so
four.
feel free to tune in. And all the these events are actually on my workshops, so or on my channelinginc.com website. So the next one, I'm just looking it up right now, is going to be June 22nd.
June 22nd.
So
That's
please,
perfect.
please, please tune in. Actually, the June 22nd event at the Ask Ken Show is on Facebook and other social media. So you can put your questions in there ahead of time on the discussion tab. And then, yeah, we'll see if we can get to as many questions as we can.
Cool. Desiree Kennedy. Sorry, Desiree, I'm blanking where you're from. I should know this, but I'm blanking, so you're going to have to remind me. She wants to know if you offer group readings.
I do group trainings. So
Group
I can,
trainings.
I can do one-on-one readings. And I can do group readings. What I do that kind of separates me from other people is I'm a trainer. So my my whole theology is I want to empower people to learn how to channel, to learn how to do this themselves, to learn how to do mediumship, to learn how to connect with spirit guides, other people's spirit guides, do readings on people, medical mediumship, which is where you scan people and you can connect with other people's souls and their higher self and ancestry, past lives, all that stuff. So I'm a trainer of this, and yes, I do this in groups, and I have my group trainings in my intro classes, and then also in my channeling levels 1, 2, and 3, and then my animal certification workshops that I do. And then I have a whole bunch of stuff after that that people can qualify for, like my mastermind group and things like that. So yeah, I love doing groups, and I'm actually doing one at my Spirituality is Fun Expo for any of those in the Alberta or British Columbia region in Canada. If you want to come out to Canmore on July 2nd, I will be doing group trainings
Great
at my.
plug. That was
Yeah,
nice.
I
That was
know, right?
nice.
So, and Kevin will be there. He'll be doing mediumship readings on the group, and I will be doing training. So it's going to be fun. Yeah.
So Desiree, when I did my Desiree, I did a reading for Desiree. When I talked about the gentleman that trained me, Ken is a gentleman that trained me to do the readings I offer to people. So yeah, if you want to get trained, Ken would be a very, very good choice. And it's not just because he lets me be host of this show. He really is. The way
My
he
mission.
teaches is totally different than anything I've ever experienced. I've done lots of courses, sales courses over the years, and it is totally different. It's not sit and stare at a screen and fall asleep. You're nodding off. If you nod off in one of Ken's classes, you better go to the doctor because there's something wrong, because he just keeps you all involved. It's really a cool session. Okay, that's enough of me
Yeah.
promoting Ken.
Yeah, when my mission in this world is, can you imagine how much better this world would be if everyone learned how to channel and learn how to channel their spirit guides and follow their spirit guides' guidance and did what they're really meant to do on this planet? And that's why I do this. I want to empower people by the masses to learn how to do this for themselves and
Yes.
eventually be able to get to a point where they can do it without me, which I've had lots of students now who've done this, and I love it. And I want people to stand on my shoulders and do even greater things than me. So yeah, that's why I teach groups.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Kim Bukowski. Um, Hi, angels have been so strong with me, and I'm just wondering if I'm missing their message. What can I do to understand their message better?
Tune into them better. I wish there was a really simple answer. That's where it comes with practice. And it's so similar to what I mentioned earlier about taking that deep breath. Ground center channel using source energy, work on getting yourself out of the way, having like a clear mind, relaxing into it, feel where their presence is physically around you, and then hone in on that connection with them and try to increase your connection. So yes, angels are real. I teach people, my students, how to channel them in my advanced channeling level 3 expert level 3, and it's super cool. It's super fun. So just try to relax into them. Trust what you're getting. If you really allow yourself to open up fully to them, their presence is really in a positive way, like overwhelming, like in a good way. Like I oftentimes I'll just break down in tears out of nowhere because they have this love. It's called agape love, and agape love is like the highest form of love out there. Even your guides can't come close to this, but angels can, where it's just true, unconditional, overwhelming in a positive way kind of love. It's just so wonderful. I love it.
Something humans aren't capable of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is it possible to break soul contracts?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
from Krish Pillay. And can you kind of elaborate what a soul contract is? Because a lot of people listening won't understand that.
Yeah. So there's a couple things on that. Again, there's a difference between contracts, deals, and agreements. So sometimes someone will make a vow like, I'll never allow this person in my life again, or, something like that, or, I'll never forgive them, something like that. And that's like kind of like, that's an agreement that you've made. So contracts, deals are made in the astral realm, and then even if they're made in the astral realm, they can be through Akashic records healing or clearing. You can clear those contracts, deals, and agreements, and it does make a real world life a difference. So I'm not going to say that it's not going to affect your relationship with this person, or I mean, it's not going to necessarily make it all perfect, but it will take the edge off and maybe allow you to not respond or react in a way that's unhealthy anymore, that you can respond from a healthier perspective because you don't have those soul contracts that are still binding you to kind of keeping you in that loop. And so there is a good healthy way to do this through Akashic Records healing, and I do that as well. I do healing and clearings in my one-on-one sessions along with teaching people to channel. So I just include that if my client wants it. I just say, hey, would you like this? And if they say no, that's fine, we just do channeling. But if they want to include it, not only do I do healings and clearings, I also include any spiritual upgrades, attunements, activations, enhancements, whatever else the person needs to help them really ascend in their evolution, spiritual evolution.
And they can find all that information at channelinginc.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you can book a one-on-one with me or just jump straight into one of my workshops, either my intro workshops or my channeling level 1, whatever feels right for you.
Very cool. I just wanted to, Kim, I want to read her comment after you talked about the angels. She says, thank you. They actually just connected. They wanted you to say that to me. I will do what you said. Thank you. Wow. It felt it as you were speaking, and then a heart emoji. So
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
Kim. That is really, oh, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, in case of any of you are wondering, I channel all the time and I teach my students how to get to the point where they're channeling all the time. And when I was actually answering that question, just like all the previous ones, I'm actually channeling live and I teach you how to do this. So my goal is to make channeling and spirituality just a normal everyday part to normalize it, right? So that
Yes.
you just go and live your life, and doesn't matter what you're doing. You're taking your kid to one of their sporting events, or you're going to the grocery store, or you're driving in the vehicle, or you bump into somebody at a park and you're just channeling like it's a normal everyday part of you, or at your job or whatever it might be. It's normalized.
Hi, Heather. Yes, you're coming in just at the end. Heather Tate, I believe she's from Montreal or close to St. Bruno, to be exact. I believe, if my memory's correct. She just tuned in. She says, "Oh shoot, am I too late?" You're not too late because you can always rewatch this. We broadcast live onto Facebook, both Ken's Facebook and Cavelli Channeling's Facebook, plus both our YouTubes as well. Who was asking that? Lisa was asking, is there a particular book or something you'd recommend for Akashic healing?
Uh, so yes, there's books out there that are written on Akashic records. If you want actual healing, though, I do suggest you go to a like certified trained like Akashic records healer. And there's lots of them out there, and I do it, of course. And it's so there's something like I'm not saying books are bad. I read lots. I try to like keep up on them, and I've gotten a lot out of books. What I've found though is that sometimes I'll get a lot more when I'm actually having another practitioner, another healer doing the Akashic healing and clearing on me, rather than me just reading a book and thinking I could get all the answers from that. And don't get me wrong, books can complement it. So I'm not going to endorse any one specific book, but there are a lot of
Thank
books
you.
out there. And then there's also a lot of Akashic record healers out there. And I've trained lots, like I've worked with lots, and I help them with channeling to how to increase their Akashic record of healing abilities, which is phenomenal. I just love, and anybody of any modality I can help with this stuff with channeling.
That's awesome. 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 Um, Someone was asking about pets. I had a reading where my pets came through. It's Laura, actually. Can pets come through, or is it just a show to offer comfort?
Aw. So
Okay, this is, and I picked this question to end the thing because I know this is dear and dear to Ken's heart.
yeah, this is really dear. I have developed a whole entire animal communication, like an intro class, and then a full weekend, 7 hours Saturday, 7 hours Sunday, where you actually become a certified animal communicator. And one of the things that I do is I teach my students how to connect and channel a living pet, one of them that's alive. And then later in the workshop, when as we do more advanced stuff, I actually teach them how to connect with one who's crossed over into the animal spirit realm. And it's always the reason I'm like, oh, it's because it's always really beautiful work, and there's always a lot of tissue involved, because it's good, it's beautiful, wonderful work. Yeah. And by the way, a little tip: anytime you do anything with me, please make sure you have some tissue close by. But they're healing tears; they're wonderful. And
Yes.
yes, of course, our pets can come to us, our deceased pets, and I can actually teach you how to channel them fully and communicate with them. It's really beautiful work. I love it.
And just as we're closing, when an animal crosses, whether it be a pet or I'll call them a wild animal, where do they go?
Yeah, so they go to the animal spirit realm. They are actually in a different realm than ours. So for the most part, the astral realm is exclusively to us, to souls and human souls, and then the animal spirit realm has their own realm. So that's where, in my channeling level two, I teach my students how to channel totem animals and animal spirit guides. That's where they also reside, and then of course our pets and even wild animals, you name it, elephants, dolphins, anything kind of animal. So one of the cool things that I teach my students how to do is how to channel exotic animals. Ooh,
Ooh,
super, super
yeah.
cool stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up the question portion of this. There is some questions left. I'm going to just write them down. We can get into them next week. Um,
Thank you, everyone, for participating and writing in and asking the questions. This is the Ask Ken show. I appreciate everyone. I'm so grateful that you all tuned in.
I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger. So, Ken, once again, can you give everybody the best way to get in touch with you if they want to take one of your workshops?
Yeah, channelinginc.com definitely is the easiest way. I'm on all the social medias, you name it, all the big major ones. So just look up my name, Ken Lewicki, Lewicki, and then just search me, message me. I make myself available. It's a pleasure meeting all of you. It's a pleasure talking with all of you. Even if you didn't get your question answered, or you were just just observing in the background, I can feel your energy, and I appreciate all of you. I really do.
And why don't you tell everybody where we will be this weekend?
Yeah, so I will be at the Crystal Cauldron Market at Black Roads Market in Calgary. Is that the right word? No.
Crossroads.
Crossroads. Thank you.
It didn't sound
Crossroads.
right.
Yeah, no. I was like, so at Crossroads in Calgary, and I will have a booth there. So please come out and say hi if you live in the Calgary region. Drive in; it's worth it. And I will be doing Connect with Your Guide sessions where I'll actually be training and teaching people how to connect with their spirit guides, live little 20-minute mini sessions, and they're going to be tons of fun. So yeah.
And that's
Come
Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this week. I will be
Yeah.
hosting again. I'll be kind of hosting the table, making sure that everybody's looked after while Ken is running the sessions. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there both Friday and Sunday. I have a previous engagement on Saturday, hopefully, maybe not, but hopefully. And July 2nd, why don't we talk just a few minutes about July 2nd one more time?
Yeah, so all of you in the Alberta, I actually have people from all over, like Alberta, British Columbia, and also the US coming. It's called the Spirituality is Fun Expo in Canmore. So it's Canmore's first Spirit Expo ever. And my slogan is Spirituality is meant to be fun. So why not name it Spirituality is meant to be fun expo, right? Like that's the name of it. And that's at the Canmore Opera House. And you could buy tickets are $10. But what's really cool about this event is it's not just a normal kind of vendor fair expo, which we will have vendors, we will have readers, all that cool stuff, belly dancers, food trucks, all that stuff.
We
But we're
will
going
not
to
have ShamWow.
we we are going to have speakers. So I'm going to be speaking in the morning. First of all, there'll be an opening ceremony with crystal bowls and all that fun stuff, and then there's going to be me speaking in the morning. But it's not just going to be a speaking engagement. I'm actually going to be training people in the groups on how to channel, and then after, Kevin and Graham is going to be doing basically mediumship on the group where loved ones come through, and then belly dancers in the afternoon to break it up. And then we're having a lady speak on metaphysics, and then another one who's going to be speaking on Akashic Records. And then I'm going to wrap up the day with another training in the afternoon. So it's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on July 2nd. And then we have closing ceremonies. It's going to be a beautiful Canada Day long weekend. So I welcome everyone to come out. And if you would like to find tickets, just message Kevin and he can get you the link to the Eventbrite. It's only $10 to attend for 14 and up. So yeah, come on out. It's going to be a blast.
And you can message me at cavellichanneling.com, or sorry, Cavelli Channeling on Facebook is the best way to message me. And until next month, June 22nd, or this weekend, where we will see you at Crossfield Market, take care, and we'll remember spirituality is supposed to be fun.
Yes, have fun, everyone.